Perfect. We are LIVE live. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us on the last Sunday of March. Didn't that fly by? Oh, didn't we say March through March? Well, so we did because the month is over.
What do you know? I probably know. I can't remember because me. Eyes of March. What's Eyes of March?
I don't know.
Okay, leave it. That's just a freebie for people out there.
Eyes of March. I
It's
don't
got to
know.
do with the Romans, I think. I'm going to look it up now because now I'm curious. Well, I'm listening to you. I'm paying attention to you. I'm with
Okay.
you.
Look it up. Let us know. Eyes of March. I'm making a note just in case we forget. But welcome, everyone. My name's Michelle, joining you from a balmy 18 degrees here in Sarnia, Ontario, Canada.
Ooh.
It's projected we're going to have rain tonight. And in my little positive bubble of the world, we didn't get the freezing rain that I believe some of our siblings got: snowstorms, freezing rain. And speaking of siblings, here's one of my siblings right here wearing his carrot top shirt. Tom, good day.
Carrot Top? What are you talking about?
You said you thought it was the color of an apple. I think it reminds me of a carrot. That's not a bad thing. Carrots are good for you, healthy and nutritious. But
Whatever.
anyways,
Whatever. Do it.
yeah,
Do
whatever. So this
it.
is my lovely brother Tom joining us from beautiful, probably much more beautiful than here, British Columbia, Canada. Again, greatest country ever. Just throwing that out there. Tom, hello. How are you? Love
Hey,
your shirt.
yeah. 18 degrees.
Is it where you are too?
Yeah, 18 degrees. Okay, let me get
Awesome.
this out of the way. So you
Do it.
wrote it down. The Ides, it's not the Ides, it's IDES of March,
What is
is a
it?
day in Roman calendar marked
IEDS.
I don't know. It's something to do with Roman calendar. I don't know. Forget it.
Okay.
I'd
Wow.
be good on Jeopardy.
You're full of a lot of useless information. You know what so am I. I totally own it. Hey, Alan's with us. Woo woo. Hello, Alan. Glad you're with us today. If you're with us or when you get with us, please say hello in the chat. We would love to involve you and respond to you. Hey, Tom, guess what I watched today? You're not going to guess.
What?
So I'm just going to carry on.
Oh, you want me to
Cash
guess?
Cab. Do you know that show?
I bet you watch Cash Cab.
Oh my gosh, you're like a wizard. You're in my head. It was so
Bing.
hard when we talk about useless information. I haven't watched it's on Roku. I haven't watched it in a long time. And it seems to me, by my memory, which has been known to be wrong on occasion, it was a lot easier before. No, they're asking all sorts of even the $25 questions. I was a little bit, I think I have to reschool myself or something. I thought I usually did better than that.
That was Cash Cab in Toronto.
Yeah, exactly.
See, the only I think I've heard of it. I don't think I've ever watched it, but it makes me think of hold on, I've got guess. You keep talking.
Okay. So for anybody who doesn't know, you don't keep talking because we can't hear you anymore. Um, so for those of you that don't know, oh, Alan, she got 10 centimeters of snow last night. Today was freezing rain. Alan, you're taking one for the team, but it's definitely not as bad as they said it might be, at least the east in East End, Ottawa. Well, we hope you're safe and you stay well and warm and dry. I hope you have nowhere to go until that settles. Yeah, so Cash Cab, the way that that works is as soon, and I've never been in, but I feel like I know somebody who's played before. Was it Roy and Rachel? Roy or Rachel, if you're watching this, please let me know. But because they used to live in Toronto for quite a while. But anyways, as soon as you get in, the ceiling lights up, and then he asks you if you want to play, and then you can. And I didn't watch it super long because I was hanging out doing stuff. I'm glad you are, Lan. But it was they. I think you can like ask a friend, or they yell out the window sometimes. It's just interesting and quick. And then at the end, you can do a video challenge and double your money. And they're either really hard questions or really simple. Like their doubling money question today was about how did the old steam trains run? What were their source of energy? Steam.
Ides of March.
Yeah, apparently. So those people did not risk their $650. They were able to take it, and they were absolutely fine. They had a great time. I mean, you expect to pay for a cab, not make money and then carry on your day.
Give me 1 second. Keep talking. I'm here. I just going to turn the video off for 1 second.
Sure. What do you? Okay, so
Hey,
that
look
was
at that picture. That
Hey,
picture's awesome.
that's over 1 second. You're insulting us now. Elaine, how long has it been? Much over 1 second, I'm sure. But I'm glad you're curled up with a peppermint hot chocolate. I don't think I've ever had a peppermint hot chocolate. I used to have, when I used to be a waitress years ago or a server, I used to like, oh my goodness, cafe mocha, half hot chocolate, half hot chocolate, half hot. I just said that wrong. Half hot chocolate, half coffee. That's what it was. And yeah, talk about a sugar rush. Oh my goodness. Probably why I was a pretty fast server is that I was all jacked up on sugar, piss, and vinegar. That's what I was full of, Tom. Hello, welcome
Oh,
back. Thanks for joining us, taking
I'm
time
back.
for us today.
Yep. Yep. I just wanted to change my shirt, and I
You're not
have
wearing the carrot shirt anymore?
I have 6 of these.
Do you?
No,
Is that actually your uniform?
the carrot.
Yeah. You know, isn't it funny? As soon as somebody plants that seed, you're always going to think that it's
Yeah.
lovely. I love
And
it.
when you said carrot, I'm thinking, of course, Carrot Top, who's a comedian,
Great, funny.
and he's
Yes.
just weird.
Didn't
So
think of that, but
yeah,
okay.
but I did, right? So, anyways, yeah, no, I was just Teresa was picking up Ethan, taking him up for birthday dinner, and
Nice.
so I made a roast on Sunday. We had a beautiful roast beef from a local
Today's
thing, and
Sunday.
potatoes, and
What?
we had a um, we had a butternut squash. Cut it up. I'll send you some pictures. But anyway, so good. But today, his favorite meal besides Subway is burgers, and he's going to this place out here called Wildcat, and they do a burger that hardly anybody eats. And what the burger does, it's like a half a French loaf, Michelle,
Yep.
3 burger patties. It's called the Rowdy Roadhouse.
Wow. Where's this at? What's the place? It's a little mom and
Next
pop
time
or
you come out here, yeah, it's about 20 minutes away from here.
nice.
But we've been talking about it forever.
Awesome.
I'm not able to go, but anyways, yeah, he's gonna go, and he says he
Awesome.
can eat it no problem.
I bet he can. So is it free if you eat it?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Sometimes they have those food challenges that they're you eat so much and then you end up not paying for it, but they're crazy expensive. If you don't eat it, you're
We
spending a lot.
we must have something, but we have do you like Indian food? Like East Indian food or no?
Um, Not super strong,
Yeah, me too.
but in we had a lot of curry and stuff growing up. My parents, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a place in town, good friends of mine, good in the food industry, had it for a year, authentic, really good. They won awards in that, and they actually have this. I don't know if it's a paneer, whatever it is, but what they do, I don't eat out a lot either because I don't like to spend money eating out,
Mhm.
right? So that's me. But they have a thing that if you can eat this hot like 4 chili dish or whatever it is, that you get to write your name on this post, and that's your claim to fame, right?
Oh, cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
people, and you know what's funny with that? Most of the time, I think men are the ones that like feel like they have something to prove by eating.
Sure,
Do
absolutely.
you ever watch Roadhouse, like Guy Fieri, that chef? You watch a food channel, anything like that?
I watch like challenges on Netflix and stuff, but I
Yeah.
don't really cook. I don't really follow foodies like that.
Yeah. So yeah, of course I do. But on the food channel, they'll have things like pizza that are bigger than your, like
Oh,
restaurants
yeah,
that serve it bigger than your kitchen table combined with whatever, right?
right.
So there's this thing about, it's probably psychological in some way. I mean, it's a marketing thing, right? But I just sit there and go like whatever, right? But
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
you look at the way, I mean, we've looked at portions our whole life. Dad having a bigger one, mom having the next size, and then kids having the smaller portions, right?
right.
I think maybe once upon a time when we were more physically active as a society, that might have made more sense because you would have been, the hunter gatherer. We our clothes don't even get dirty anymore unless you're like a laborer or that sort of thing. But I mean, for most people,
Later, dude. Later, dude.
you're not getting physically dirty the way you used to. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
times have just really changed.
Well, I watch some shows. I don't care if people judge me, whatever, but I have certain things I like to watch, right? Certain series, I'll like PVR them because I got a PVR, and then Netflix that you don't have to do that. But I watched one, I think it's on Netflix, and it's Bear Grylls, and he takes these people. They're mostly from
What?
England.
What's it
Bear
called?
Grylls. Have you heard of
Oh,
him?
okay. Yeah, yeah, I watched that.
Yeah, and he takes these English people into the wild, whatever,
Yeah,
and lets them. It's as much a survival as it's social, right?
right.
And then, which I find incredibly interesting. And then another one I really haven't watched. I think I've seen a couple of clips. Is Naked and Afraid.
Oh, not for
And but the funny thing is you don't see anything because they blur it, right? I've seen like some clips,
no, I that's
but it's just weird. I'm going like, and then you don't win anything. You get to say, "Hey, I survived 21 days," right? Or whatever the same
uh,
thing is, right? But this idea of survival, like going back to the hunter-gatherer type stuff, I find incredibly interesting. So, anyway, yeah, it's one of those things where, oh, I can see the chat now, Michelle. I'm so excited. Oh my word! I figured out a button.
whoa, did you just hit it? I just saw something go ba-doo, ba-doo, ba-doo.
I just sent like a heart and whatever, right?
Oh, look
So,
at I can
anyways,
see them. Feeling the
hey,
love.
I see a
Feeling
lot.
the
I
love.
just, yeah, I don't know why I couldn't see this before. It's really weird. It's just because they have ads and stuff on it's on my phone, right?
Yep.
But anyways, yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like there would be some cultures where the men would eat first and whatever's left would be, I'm talking even like England, but there would be different types of cultures and different times of this social hierarchy. And
Just like your dad having a certain chair. I don't know if you had that when you were growing up,
what?
but
Your dad had a chair?
my too. He had a chair at the table, like at the dinner table. So that was his, and it was literally the only chair like that in the house. And then my mom's had a chair, but it was pretty flexible whether she was in it or not. And then in the living room there was a lazy boy. Nobody was allowed in my dad's chair. He always got when we worked up to a remote. When we didn't have remotes, I was the remote. It was a busy job, but I was really good at working my way through those 13 channels.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, and it's so funny because I was thinking of that the other day with something with the whole chair thing. It was somebody had posted something online about somewhere that hierarchy sort of changed, right? I forget what
Yeah.
it was. Same as even when I waitressed, we not at a greasy spoon, but at a fine dining establishment, we had to go in order. You had to go the right way around the table. You did all the women first, and then you did the men first, right? Which was the opposite. But yeah, very interesting how much we held on to these things for a long time, yet we lost them quite quickly over
Well,
just a
and here's
generation
the
or
funny,
two.
well, the funny thing with that, and then when we start going into the whole idea of hate, and
Absolutely.
when I was talking to Michelle, and I said I can own it. I like kind of cool tags that, hey, dismantling hate. What's that about? Instead of saying we're going to talk about hate, that's who I am, right? So whatever. But here's a funny thing, Michelle. Because some people, we're not really going to talk as much about hate like we're talking earlier. More so, I wanted to talk about kind of this amped up culture of, and it's, I think a lot of it's based on, like, again, this common thing. Well, I always voted liberal. I always did this, or this and that, right? But this right now, I have this amped up social media pages that I just can't believe how angry people are. But a funny sidebar story to do with what we're talking about. Probably 12 years ago, I worked for Cisco food service company, and the year this was I was there 8 9 years, whatever. So one of the years I was there, I was one of the top 10 across Canada. So they treated us. We went to Edmonton, went to West Edmonton Mall, pulled out all the great stuff and that, right? But one of the things they did at dinner, they had this lady, and she was from the Hungarian embassy.
Oh, cool.
She looked like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
She was talking about etiquette.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. I mean, I grew up, like, if you're on a bus and there's somebody old, you stand and give your seat. Like, we probably have had some of those in our generation,
Absolutely.
not right now,
Yep.
right? But it was hilarious because she's dealing with dignitaries. She goes, like, if you see somebody, like, this, forgetting how the silverware, like
Yep.
everything's set for meals and salad forks, all that.
Yep.
Um, you wouldn't eat until the host started.
Right. That's right.
If you were in a social gathering, if somebody looked across the room, you would tilt your glass or your head, and if you didn't want to talk to them, you would tilt your head and then you'd look the other way right away. So that was like a signal, like, I acknowledge you, but right. So these types of, and there's some other ones, I can't remember them, right? But anyways, it was just so funny because I didn't grow up in that social circle, but it makes me think of these, I don't say rite of passage, but like Michelle and I were talking before about the hunter gather stuff. There was just an assumed place for you. But now we live in a place where way too much information, well, actually, too much half truths on any side. You don't know who to trust. You can get all amped up for whatever reason, and then all of a sudden figure out, well, that was like BS, right?
Yep.
And so I just find, like, there's people, I've talked about before, where there's people that, oh, I've always believed this, I believe this, I believe this, and then all of a sudden they have an experience or a bad experience, and all of a sudden they shut that door, right? And and that's not saying that's bad, but in this place for me where, especially it's political for me right now. Like right now, I was telling Michelle, the U.S. politics, the Trump and tariffs, like that was like totally taking over our news. I watch mainstream news more than Michelle. Michelle doesn't watch it, but right now it's like that's out. That's not even on the news. It's about the battle in Ontario, PC, conservative and liberal, and how bad this guy is and how bad that guy is. So in my social media, people that are friends and family. Somebody will post something, and they'll post even a video or copy and paste something, and I don't think they fact check, by the way. But all of a sudden, somebody says, this guy, blah, blah, blah. They're like, oh, that guy's like that. I can't believe it. I'm going to tell all my friends.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then somebody that is a friend post something, and all of a sudden you're amped up and you hate one of your best friends or your brother or sister, your uncle, whatever, aunt, right? So with that, with me and Michelle, we're talking like, how do in your mind, this type of stuff, what, because Michelle's not a hateful person. She's
Well,
not
see,
perfect,
no,
but
I
you
will
work through
say
it,
that,
right?
and I have my moments for sure. But when we talk about those first 10 years of your life, that foundation that's set for you. And
Yeah.
so I was raised like damn was a bad word, hell was the obvious bad words were bad words, but damn, hell, and then hate was a bad word. So I was allowed to strongly dislike things, but I wasn't allowed to hate. even green beans. I hated those green beans, but I wasn't allowed to actually hate them. But I
So
could
what would
strongly dislike them because they had good qualities, right? So it really taught me growing up to, for one, when I have that feeling of hate, because I do, I'm a human being. So, but it really, it feels very alien to me. And in order to get rid of that emotion and that feeling, I have to break it down. Like, and I have to, especially if it's with a human. So like everybody's Facebook is the same right now, I'm sure, right? With the fake news and people just blindly sharing. But I think sometimes like if there's somebody that you just, I I feel like I hate that person for whatever reason. Maybe it's I don't know, but I have to break it down and figure out why. I shouldn't hate a whole nother human. So what is it? Is it like an action they're doing? Is it their laugh, drives me nuts? Is it somebody that snorts when they laugh and that drives me nuts? Is that what it is? Is it that they repeat themselves all the time? Is that something that I'm really responding to? I hate that part, or maybe acting like a ditz. Is that a general statement? We all
you're
know
allowed to
what
say
that
dits?
means. Right? So, but when you break it down and then you say, yeah, it's those things that drive me crazy, but I don't dislike that person as a human because I have to take into a fact that I have to respect our differences and always acknowledge that their journey got them to there. So when you see, when it's so interesting with the world right now, and really since the whole masks stay within the lines debate, like that's when people stopped being friends. And like I can't have my family over for Christmas because they just did believe masks didn't work, or you know what I mean, whatever. Like one thing, we used to be able to respect each other enough to agree to disagree, right? But it's so interesting because I've heard this a bunch of times where and I think I shared this term last week, presentism. So you're looking at the present and you're qualifying previous things to current standards. And it was a couple people that were and I'm not going to get into which, like, it doesn't matter which one it was, but it was somebody talking about a political party and somebody that's running. So they're like, well, and they're all guys, so I can say him. So, I don't know what I think about him. I like what he's saying, but that party 15 years ago did A, B, and C things, and I didn't like that. And that's such an interesting morph that
Yeah.
they're doing because every single thing by Alice is leaving. Every
Hi,
single
Al.
Uncle Tom says bye. Elaine says bye. Everybody says bye. So yeah, so I mean, looking at that and I think hate is easier than doing the legwork.
I just wrote, you know what? I just wrote down not willing to do the work.
There you go.
And
Thanks for coming, everybody.
hey, bye. Next week we'll see you. Part two.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
wrote down. You're gonna laugh at this. So you're not a sports person, right?
Not at all.
Nobody in your family, right? Any of your kids are hockey fans or whatever?
We're bowlers.
I don't know what that means.
Bam.
What does that mean?
Bowlers. We're
Fred
bowlers.
Flintstone. Fred Flintstone. Okay.
Yeah.
So, so I have a friend, doesn't live here now, lives in Alberta, but his friend grew up in
We admit
Toronto.
he's your friend?
Yeah, well, I don't know if he would say I'm his friend now, but that's fine. But we were friends, right? So this guy moved out here. Like when we came back from England, we stayed with him and his wife, and I don't think they had one of the kids home. We just grow up together, right? This
Okay.
guy is a diehard Maple Leaf fan.
Hmm.
We're talking, so talk about hate, right? So
Right.
we're talking about, and in sports, mostly men. I think men are the worst, by the way. I think women have this ability to not, I just think men are more amped up, could be testosterone. I don't know what it is, right?
I'm
So
not
this
sure
guy,
what you're talking about.
he goes, if he lived here, goes, if Vancouver, and he was telling the truth, if Vancouver wins the cup, this is years and years ago, if they win the cup, I am leaving BC.
Oh dear.
This is a guy that would watch hockey. He'll never be on here, so I don't care. And if he goes, oh well, I didn't use his name, right? Could be another guy.
No, it's
But
right.
but here's a guy that like hockey and that is meant for fun. Like even bowling, it's but this competitiveness, because I think
Oh
that
yeah.
plays roles into that. And so all of a sudden, if his team's like up, as soon as his team goes down a goal, he's like amped and he goes, turn the TV out, I can't run, goes crazy. I think right now, I haven't talked to him for years. I see a few little things from his daughter, wife put on social media, but last time we talked a couple of years ago, he was like, that's it, I'm not watching, right? And I think I've told him this, but I was thinking at the time, going like how did you let the joy get sucked out of it,
Right.
right?
Exactly. Where did that
Because
transition happen?
for me, and I'll give you a thing that we can dissect a little bit. Probably my wheelhouse, but it's fine. But at some point, this competitive drive that I can't like I just can't enjoy it, be competitive. Like when I play games, by the way, do you guys play games like board games and stuff like that?
Yep. Yep.
So there's a game called Balderdash. Love it. Balderdash is a game that we have this word that pretty much nobody knows, and you write down your definition, and you're hoping the people reading the definitions will pick yours. I don't care. This is me. I don't care about willing. I want the person reading it to laugh or not be able to say it because it's so funny, stupid, whatever, right? So these things of competitiveness, going to somebody's place and they're having a meal that's like, oh well, I got to do a better like, or I joke, it's like the guy going, hey, I caught a little fish. Oh, I caught a bigger fish, right? So these things in my mind lead up to this whole area of our differences, and our differences become mentally, emotionally, sometimes physically separation. The whole thing about I was reading a book about just early Persian history because I like history, and the whole, if you look at Egyptian and Roman and all these different religions, early religions, right? For whatever reasons, the people that weren't like them were the enemy.
Right.
And this conquering mentality that we can't, I mean, in the midst of all those religions, like now people being fearful of, from at 9/11, people being fearful of a Muslim person on a plane type of thing, right?
Mhm.
So these things, and fear doesn't have to turn into hate, but fear separates and isolates, and then like hating snakes because I was fearful of a snake when I was a kid, or spider or whatever, right? So and so there's a diversity in a person or people that are different, that think different than us, and I think and I want to go back to what we're talking about at the beginning, how Michele, when you get to the point, maybe not hating, but you can just feel, I don't know what word you would use, agitation ish.
Yeah. Frustrate. Yeah. All of them.
Yeah. So
Frustration.
when you get to
Right.
those points before
Uh-huh.
hate, like how, so what are some of the things that Michele does?
Like what are the emotions?
So if you feel, I know I'm always saying meditation because we do that. And of course, when we're amped up, like I'll use an example. If somebody cuts you off and you're on the highway and they cut you off, you have gotten your place to a point where you're not like, oh, you dirtbag, where you're going, you know, I don't know what his day, that person's day is like. I don't know what's going on, right? So that I know you might say I've always been like that, but to help people who are watching this, what are some of the steps? It could be mechanical, it could just be kind of an organic, that if somebody said like I amp up to 10 all the time, Michele, what can I do? So what would be some of the suggestions that you would offer people?
Well, you have to be able to put yourself in a like I literally ask myself those questions. So, I like of actually because I'm inquisitive. So I switch myself from anxious, annoyed, stressed out, frustrated, swearing like a truck driver. I take myself from there and so I'm actively, like I certainly couldn't meditate. I'm actively just like, well, that's weird. Why am I giving them that? It pisses me off to give people power over me. It really
Right.
does. So so that'll try. So then, like, if I really dislike that person so strongly, why am I letting them win to take my power? I'm going to analyze the crap out of this and I'm going to figure it out. So then I start sort of working through it. Was it like the tone of their voice? Was it the words they were saying? Then I might rehash the words, which can be scary on its own because I might change them around, right? I might have to, sometimes you just have to sort of drop the oars and be like, I don't know. But if I find myself for like a trick, if I find myself that I'm just not in the emotional state even to break it down, because sometimes you have to be in a calm state, non-emotional, to start looking at, it's that laugh. It reminds me of that person. Like maybe I'm struggling from post-betrayal syndrome, where
Right.
right. So maybe it's that, oh, that laugh, it reminds me of my ex or something, you know what I mean? Something like that. So that's something I definitely I would use music. Music is my go-to just to use the power of the pause. So I'm emotional, I'm frustrated, and I certainly don't want to say any because I can't take my words back. So I'm probably talking real, if you've ever seen me frustrated, talking real slow, that's probably what's going on in my brain. But then sometimes it'll be, I have to like physically remove myself, or maybe I'm leaving that event now where you were so rude. What you said, it made me upset and I
Right.
hate you now. But then it's not, it's something you said that, whatever, I made that connection. So maybe I would get in my car, crank some tunes, get me feeling good again, and then look back and be like, huh, it was that, or maybe it wasn't even you. Maybe it was the song playing in the background that I hate that song, or strongly dislike that song because that's the song, whatever that connection is. Do you know,
Right.
like, we're such a deep being, and everything is like a layer of the onion, right? We're always like peeling it back. So quite often, and I'm sure, Tom, you would have, if you thought about it, maybe an example of where you met somebody and you're sure you didn't like them or you hated them or whatever, and then next thing you know, something changes, you identify it, or you find out they're a jerk because this, whatever their story is, and then you have a clearer understanding, and then your hate goes out the window and your patience steps in, or your
Yeah.
compassion, or whatever that looks like.
So you know what's interesting? So a couple of things I wrote down, but I was thinking about in my book. I talk because I was thinking probably like you, even though we're raised together. I don't know. I don't remember hating. And when I write about my early experiences of just seeing violence and abuse and
Yep.
all of these things, like even what I did, like it's easy to look back now, but what I did is I found coping mechanisms,
Yep.
but I couldn't, like the people that abused me or mom, whatever, I never hated them. Like this world, like when I think of the word hate, and I did write down our lovely perception, because that might be I might have to get a tattoo telling you, but for me, I like I just would I don't hate to me is like it makes me associate the word hate goes to the point like I want to kill you, like it's the top rung, right? And so um I've had people say, just in general, say, well, I hate when you do that, picking on bad mannerisms, like I
Yeah.
hate when you chew ice. So the funny thing is we perspective on a laugh, a smell,
Yep.
they become triggering, right? And so I love what you said about the music in that, and I'm going to throw in meditation, because something I do, like if I'm having like a tough, more mental, I'm going to say more about my mind than emotional. Like I'll just stop what I'm doing. If I'm on the phone, I'll wait till the phone call's over or whatever. But if I'm in the middle of an email or whatever, I'll stop, close my eyes, and I focus on my breathing. And so Michele said, like music, there's so many things. They're called distractional therapy. And there's something, it's that thing, remember the elastic band? There's so many things. You want to find that something works for you, because that person who's amping you up, or that thing, or that hockey team, or
Whatever.
that
Yep.
politician, it's not worth your space, as Michele said, right? And the funny thing I was thinking of too, where me and you were talking about, like, I think we're fairly similar in a lot of ways. We're emotive, but we're rational. We're kind of this. So I know people that are overtly emotional. I know people that will, with say anxiety or social anxiety and stuff like that, where all of a sudden, like they become worried about things that haven't happened.
Yeah.
Like this is, and we may not think of the word hate, but all of a sudden something, and it could lead to hate, by the way, but all of a sudden something is sapping your energy, your positive, your who you are as a person, and knowing that we have the ability to control, like we are so wonderfully creative. Me and Michele say this all the time. The design of the human body and the brain, like, it's bizarre. Like, we'll never figure it out fully, right? But this thing about understanding chemically, biologically, emotively, like these things about us, we have the ability to not hate. We have the ability to know our body more, to rest.
Right.
Michele and I talked about, I don't know when we'll talk about it again, but it was a really good one. We talked about the grounding or earthing, and we
Yeah.
talked about when you become not fearful of something different than the way you would think. And I think researching things are okay. Like, I think
Yeah.
that's what we should do, but I
Yeah.
do think we may not figure everything out, right? Like, again, words, perspective of a word. Like, again, somebody has said to me, who's close to me, has said, "Oh, I hate when you chew ice because of the sound." I
Right.
don't think they really mean the word hate.
Right. I agree.
It becomes this easy thing to communicate, that annoys me or whatever, right? I hate.
And isn't it funny too? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, go ahead.
Isn't it funny too how just that statement you just said, which really should say, it annoys me when you chew ice. That's what it really should be.
Yeah.
But when you do that, and maybe this was some of why hate was the swear word, it sort of negates the value of hate. It
Yeah.
not like really you like that's such a strong because
Yeah.
you're right. Hate. I would hate somebody who violated one of my children. I would like it's such a and stuff would get serious really quick. There'd be act, you know what I mean? Like so really like for chewing ice, you're gonna knock somebody's block off. Like when you think about how it's such like when we talk about a lot of things with just emotion, two emotions. Right? It's hate or love or fear or love. So you're going all the way to the spectrum because I tap my pen when I watch, or because I chew ice, or yeah, or a Hummer. I mean,
Okay, time out, time out.
like
Michele
and
means somebody who hums.
I used to work with this lady, and she would hum alone with through her mouth music that nobody knew. And I didn't hate it, but oh boy, it was annoying, right?
But see, I think we're taught that. Like, there's something. One of the other things I wrote down was this whole idea. I was thinking of. I love history, so I was thinking of hatred in, we think of Nazi, we think of
Yeah.
white supremacy,
Yeah.
we think
Great
of
example.
of jihadists, and we think of, like,
Right.
extremists, right?
Right.
I remember telling mom, who our mom is, she doesn't like me saying, if she'd watch it, she'll beat me up, but that's fine. She's very Pentecostal, means very charismatic, a Christian, and she's 80, so she has, like, she's smart, but she has a perspective of things, right?
Of course.
So I'm gonna use this as an example, right? I want to go back to what you said about somebody hurting your family, because I think that's a real important thing. But she'll go, like, we'll talk about, she doesn't believe in abortion, which is fine. It's fine to have people on both sides. It's totally fine, right?
Yeah.
And then so she'll, like, talk about, like, we have read in the news for many, many years, oh, like that's life, it's sacred, blah, 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 which is great. No,
Mhm.
fine. But then there'll be um, jihadist Christians, there's two words put together, that will blow up an abortion clinic and kill the people, but that's not the same.
Right.
So either you respect life. So I think, and here's a funny thing, Michelle, I think we're getting, I feel, my opinion, we're getting so amped up. It almost makes me feel like in World War II, Europe was so fearful of Germany that even then they knew what stuff was going was wrong. They rather just give up, like Poland, that's okay, like we surrender, just like don't send us
Yep.
anywhere, right?
Yep.
And and so it's interesting how fear it is. But I want to mention just the thought about what you said, depending on personality. But if somebody came and hurt our family, our grandkid, because they're young and vulnerable,
Yep.
I think, just because I think of my experience of what I've been through, and so I'm thinking the way Tom would think, I would be broken. The first emotive things I would be devastated. I would be devastated. Now, would I want vengeance? I probably at some point on this journey, but there's some people, and I'm willing to say that they're emotively stuck, because one of the things I do is that rational emotive behavior therapy, right? So there's people that they'll block their emotional compassion or
Oh
even
yeah.
grieving and stuff, and then they'll just like they'll isolate this part of their thinking,
Yeah.
and it's just easier to hate you
That's right.
instead of
Yep.
instead of like trying to find understanding, or sometimes I don't think some places you might not need understanding. I like understanding, so do you, I think. But sometimes I need to go, like the driver in the car thing, which you told me. I sometimes go, I don't like bad drivers still, but I don't push my machine gun thing on my dash or whatever, but
Good.
or drop bombs. But this action happens, and where it would kind of make me be frustrated, I actually, what I do, Michelle, you laugh. I talk. Ethan's in the car. We go
Good.
around roundabouts of that. I go, oh, that person should do that. Oh, that guy. Hey, he's just so I'm not amped up. I'm actually doing commentary for the roundabouts.
You're working through it. No, I think that's
Yeah.
great.
So in it, I don't have to. So here's the funny thing is, with some people, if you've not dealt with, could be some core, could be beliefs, it could be trauma,
Yeah.
whatever. My friend with hockey, I believe 100%, 100%. There's something in his life that he has not dealt with. He has muzzled it, and now he can send all this negative stuff towards something that's
Oh,
like,
for sure. Same as people with video games. Like, and they, yes, I know a long line of throwers. And same thing, right? They're redirecting frustrations and angers that they have on something else. And it's so interesting when you look how ingrained it is.
yeah,
Like, and where you look at the hate that people have, like some people are just locked in on that hate. It doesn't matter if the receiver cured cancer. It doesn't matter if, like, what they did there. And this is a problem. And whether it's extreme right, left,
yeah,
whatever it is, anything extreme, that's a problem, right? So
yeah.
you see it where, you could, let's say, I don't know, even save two people floating in space for 9 months. Nobody thinks that was an amazing, not that nobody thinks, but
Let's do this, Michelle. Let
to
me jump
carry
in.
that hate, right?
Let me jump in, because Michelle and I try to be impartial way. I think we're like that. So
Yeah.
let's do this. We're talking about hatred. Let's talk about Musk. We're
Okay.
not talking about politics. So
No, just
whatever,
break it
blue, red,
down.
doesn't matter. So because if this person was a part of the other party doing the things that they're doing, they would be, I believe, would be heralded as an all-star, right? You know what I mean? So
If it was ever permitted.
yeah. So I mean, some of the things, but if you have people that had the means of the smarts or the money, whatever, the the values are different in different parties. But Elon Musk. So I want your thoughts on that because he's a person right now in the news that is incredibly hated, like violently threatening hated in the
It's
States.
one
Well,
extreme or the other,
yeah.
right? Yeah, one extreme or the other, for
So what
sure.
do you think? Because again, with people watching this later, watching it live, when you go back, because I know the way you and me are wired, like I'm pretty sure both of us would say we don't really understand how come he's so hated. Is that fair to say? Or do you think explain your spot with this?
So, well, I don't know if you really want me to.
I do.
Okay.
This point.
Okay, so I think, okay, let me think about this for a second. Like, I think people are, um, I don't want to insult anybody, so don't take this as an insult because I believe this is such a gradual thing. But I
Yeah.
think with, so we have TDS. We all know there's people with TDS on both sides that are the extreme. So you can love him to death or you can hate him to death, but TDS is real, in my opinion. So now we seem to have
Can you
DDS,
say what TDS is?
so Trump derangement syndrome.
I didn't know.
Okay. And then now we seem to have DDS, so Doge derangement syndrome. And I think it's been so gradual with him right from when he took over X, because it's just like, and again, this isn't my personal, it's an outsider looking in. Once upon a time, Trump used to be on all the shows. He
Yeah.
was loved, he was hugged, he, got skating rinks going. He did all sorts of great things. He was the greatest thing since sliced bread. He didn't align with the plan. He's now, we've seen how things have gone. So I feel, and I'm only reflecting on that, I've seen the same thing with Elon. So you see him, everybody loves him. He's so smart. He's digging tunnels, he's doing rockets. And then it all started when he decided, and we know, just give me a code or something if you want me to shut up, okay?
Okay, this is beautiful. I love this.
But so then he decided, because there was no free speech, and
Right.
this has all come out. If you want to fact check me, go for it. It's all come out in the news or whatever, that the everything was biased. It was all leaning a certain way. Certain viewpoints people were being canceled. Very real
Right.
thing. So then he took over X. Nobody, like certain people freak out who have stuff to lose. So we have that level of people who have something to lose. We're seeing a lot of that coming out now. But then we have these people who are like the people who are ruining the cars. This is as a behavior person, this is so boggling to me. So Elon lives in the States. He's half Canadian, but he doesn't really have any Canadian ties per se.
No,
So, how does one think they're directly hurting him when they scratch a car in Vancouver, Canada? But the hate, same as, so going back to the astronauts, there's two astronauts that have been stuck out in limbo for 9 months. It was physically ailing them, like things happen to your body with no gravity, not a good
100%.
thing.
Yeah.
They were supposed to go get him, but because Elon was the only one that could go get him, then it wasn't happening because they didn't want to align with him. So it's so interesting. And, really, honestly, if you wanted to get back at him, the best thing to happen would not be to create damage to a dealership. It would be to have cars that never sell in a dealership. So, just like thinking back, I think a good tell for people is if there's any human in the world that you can't find one good thing about. I erase more than I actually type and send to people, because I see the same stuff as you. But there is one lady, and she was so mad and upset. Like, you could just tell that she was rattled because he's looking at things, which is so funny because he started PayPal. he's had people's banking information for years. He doesn't anymore, but I mean, and what does he want my $17 for?
And did he just sell X?
No, he did not. That's fake news. It's unless it's coming, but to my knowledge, that's just fake
Yeah.
news that's going around. So I ended up in this conversation with somebody, and I challenged her just to find one good thing. And this was since those astronauts were saved. And the only thing she could come back with was that, well, he's not following the rules. And I
Yeah.
was like, I feel bad that you can't find one thing. Like one thing. Like he's good to his mom. He takes his mom. She's lovely. If you've never seen her, she's a Canadian model. She's like our oldest model or something, but she's like a lovely human being, I'm sure. I'm
Yeah.
not her friend. But like when he doesn't have a date, I guess, or whatever, he takes his mom to all these red carpet events. I can
Yeah.
think somebody's a real, what, and be like, well, he treats his son or his mom nice. Or like, I can always find
Well,
something,
and they find that he's weird. So that's the thing that comes out. He's weird, right? That's like,
but he's got Asperger's.
but I'll use my son, right? So my son, my son has, his opinions.
Of course.
And he just turned 19, right? But you know what I love about it? He can communicate his, like he said, I'm not really a Musk fan, blah, 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 right? But
That's
he
fine.
doesn't communicate it in a tactful way. He communicates it as like from my information that I get, talking about him. This is why I feel this. A couple of things I wrote down, three things, because we'll try to, it'll be a little after five, but that's fine. I wrote, when you were saying stuff, entitlement. I love the word you talk about, behavioral
Mhm.
and narrative, right? So there's something like what I use about Germany, because I just watched this and read about this, about Germany and Poland is one. France was another one, right? So it was easier for them to get along and give the Germans what they want, because Germans were powerful. Like they almost took over the world, right? So it
Right.
was easy to do that. It's easy, back in the Inquisition in England. In the Inquisition in England, it was the fearing the church, because they didn't understand the difference or whatever stuff, right?
Right.
Uh,
Right.
all of a sudden, they're burning witches at the stake, and the silly things. Have you seen a movie like if they float, if they sink, then they're okay. If they float, then they're a witch type, like things that we logically go, now what's wrong with that, right? But one of the things I wrote down from the beginning, Michele, with this is what I think, this thing of culture, right? And I put on there, hashtag raise or taught to hate.
Yeah, of
And
course.
what happens is, like earlier when I was talking about religion and stuff like that, if somebody's different than you, hate them. It's easier to hate, meaning you're talking about being
Yep.
not willing to do the work, instead of finding not just common ground, right? Like one of my hopes, I want to throw this out with. So Elon Musk, I'm going to throw out there. I know bits and bobs about him. I probably know less than a lot of people, but actions speak louder than words, right? And when you have a person that, and somebody say, well, he's got all the money in the world. He does. We don't know what some stuff, he makes money, but I know from this stuff, I do know he's an incredibly generous guy. So was Bill Gates. The old Tom Michele would do this. You know what the old Tom would do? I had a friend that was a dentist that made $1 million a year a long time ago, and he would give to charities $100,000, right?
Yep.
So somebody giving $100,000 to charities like food banks, well, that's pretty good, right?
Yep.
But you know what my brain was? This is 40 years ago. My brain was, oh, but he gets to live with 900,000.
Right.
And I think that's where the tug comes in. This election will be interesting because I think we've learned, talk about trained, we've learned, political tactics,
Mhm.
marketing, half truths, right? So the thing is, like, are you going to vote? Are you a voter?
I'm not usually a voter, but I will be voting this time, is my
Ethan
intention.
said he's going to vote. I'm going to vote. I sometimes vote. I get in trouble. I get people saying you should vote. It's your right. I go, well, it's also my right not to vote. So
Absolutely.
right. But I think one of the most important things I think you said at the very beginning was educate yourself. Find out maybe the situation that you think Aunt Aunt Mary said something about you that was said through 10 people and it's now
Right.
misconstrued.
Yeah.
Maybe go to the source. So I do that with work. If I've got customers and they're having issues and they're mad or email our office, I run to the fire type guy. So I'm glad I
Yeah.
learned that. And I think the emotive and rational thinking, the balance is such a healthy place to do. If you're really emotional, if you get amped up from 1 to 10 because social anxiety, what will people say, you get all worried about that, then find, and you've said this in your words earlier, find some rational understanding. Like look at the situation, going, okay, why do I believe this?
Right.
Why is this making me feel A, B, C? Right.
Right.
And seriously, without even finding an answer, maybe to stop and just think and rationalize, it'll help you with must. So this is, I'll be true to this word. This is my last, unless we keep talking, last kind of thing. Regardless of political parties, regardless of Teslas and this and all that, um, sidebar, I mean, the other party loved Musk doing all those electrical cars until, so
Exactly.
leave that. But the thing I want to bring up, when he brought those people back from space, right?
Yep.
You can, in my mind, love or hate somebody. Like it's not about tipping a scale. Like, oh, well, he did 5 bad things and he did three
Right.
or whatever, right? When I work with guys through recovery, um, and part of it is, and they make their own decisions for their abuse of whatever, right? The two things that happen, there's the power of shame and all that, which separates them from, could be family, hating themselves, whatever. And the word, and I'm gonna tell you, the word is hate. They either hate somebody, and that's the reason they're like, I was hurt or abused. I'm not saying that's
Yep.
not important.
No,
You got to
no.
work through that, right?
Yep.
But until they kind of get rid of that fence and are willing to like love themselves or even look at somebody, it could be somebody's hurt you, look at it differently.
Yeah.
And you we never want to take away, if you had an experience of somebody abusing you, abusing a family member, taking a life, these things, none of that's easy. So
Right.
it's not downplaying it. You
Right.
don't want to live in hate because you're actually poisoning yourself,
Exactly. Exactly.
right?
And quite often, it doesn't even matter to the other person.
Yeah,
Right? Like it's so interesting. We've talked about that before, how
yeah.
you're giving that rent to somebody else in your head and it's not hurting them. Can I
Right.
share some interesting stuff I've learned? And
You
it's
share whatever you want, my sister,
just be
sister.
just because of the algorithm, it shows me different things. So under the Tesla umbrella, there's also an amazing wheelchair. It's robotic. And I don't know how, of course, in the algorithm it came up. I got two videos from some tech page, and one of them is this wheelchair. He's selling them in the States for $179. He made them super affordable. They go upstairs. So cool. And of course, because everything is high end with them. It's got a thing in the back. If you're in like some sort of medical reader, right in the pad at the back. So if I was going through some sort of distress, the wheelchair will notify the medical uh, facilitators and
Yes, yeah.
get me help. So that's super cool. Then another thing I happened to see was he's created some tiny homes. And because they're all made with robotics, good, bad, or ugly, because they're made 100% with robotics or as much as possible, he can keep them to under $7,000. Of course, they have solar panels on top. They have like everything to charge things up. They're economical. So whenever somebody is doing something to the Tesla brand, it's also affecting these other things, right? Like, are you going to go push somebody out of a wheelchair? Because the shit's getting serious now. You know what I mean? Like, how far will people go when there are good things coming from this? I always figure with any of this stuff, it's because I don't have cable. It's like the greatest reality show ever. But I always just figure we don't truly know what the fallout is till the fallout's happened. So
Right.
let's wait till Doge is all done and let's see what the fallout was. Let's wait and see, with different accusations, with the politics and everything, the truth will come out. There's always going to be some way that light comes and we end up seeing it. So, it's just not worth renting your space or even getting caught up. Like, just don't participate. And, fine for me to say, because I have my moments that I respond. Of course, I'm a human being like everybody, but I sure try not to participate. And I think that's where our power is, just to
Yeah.
say, you know what? I don't know. I don't know these two people. I I smell bullshit, but until I can actually nail it down, I'm gonna watch, and
We
now
don't
we
have to
have a
hate.
month. Huh?
And like to get to a place of difference of opinions or these
Yeah,
you know what? I don't really like bullies.
I
Just be
know.
honest, right? I don't like bullies. But here's the thing. I was thinking, sorry, we're gonna be talk for a few more minutes. But here's the thing, right?
Almost done.
We and I think in I think it's the Western culture. It probably goes beyond, but I know people that I have friends around the world that are in India or China or different parts of the world, right? Africa. And it seems to me the sense of entitlement or right standing is is not there. Like even in Rwanda, when that movie that came out, I think it was Killing Fields or something like that, where the Houthis and whatever they destroyed the other thing, right?
Yeah.
I know places now in that country in Gilgali where these people meet in social gatherings, and some of these people's uncles killed the family, right? So to get past this genocide, which we can't even imagine, right?
Yeah.
But here's what I think back in our Western culture, right? For some, and we don't want them to form and shape us in us, in our culture, and who we are. They will never admit they're wrong. They will shift to, they will find a different reason to justify their beliefs.
Yeah.
Politics, right? Uh, just throwing up my thing, and I'm not pushing anybody else, but politics. We've had a culture in Ontario where Ontario's been liberal strong forever. People vote liberal because dad did and grandpa did and great grandpa did, type of thing, right? So we have more information, the good and bad of that. But so we live in this place of we'll justify the good and bad, like of say of Trudeau or of a Stephen Harper or whatever. Like doesn't matter what sides, right? So instead of saying I really like this guy, I like whatever, right? But here's what I wrote down, and I didn't steal it. I don't think. I said we fear what we don't know, and that fear can lead us to hate.
Of course. Yeah.
We don't. If somebody's different, we it's easier, like bullying. I was thinking what made this in was bullying, right? You get bullies and you get the crowd that hang around like the instigator, right? And that crowd, like if you look at riots and that, the people watching the looky-loos, there could be 10 people that are doing the damage, breaking stores and whatever, and you've got 100 people there watching for the thrill, right?
Right.
So it's just like this thing of like I just think of out here in Vancouver, not recently, but over the years, protests happen. You get people that support protests that they don't even care.
Or
One was this
no.
for the
Or no.
pipeline, and this pipeline was the bands and the chiefs were working through, and they're working with trying to work through the pipeline, right? And all of a sudden, these people and they drive up in their gas cars, blah blah blah, and all of a sudden, they're entitlement and they protest, and they've got nothing to do. They don't even live there, And both sides say like they need to get out of it's none of this business, right?
Yeah.
So there's something about our culture where, and I don't know if it's a badge for some people, like I'm going to be like anti
Oh, I think it
the red
is. Like
hats.
social justice warrior. There's a
There
reason
you go.
why
There
he's
you
a
go. Love that word. Yeah.
warrior, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Next
Okay.
biggest thing.
There's my 2 cents.
Okay, perfect. So, there's something I was going to add to that. Oh, I think for people though that have that tunnel vision, I think, and I'm hopeful, knock on wood, that they're going to have that aha moment and just realize you can see it almost happening in live time with some personalities where they're starting to click how ridiculous it is, right? So that's interesting. But what a great conversation today. I loved it. Anybody who watches this either in live time or later, feel free to still put your comments in the chat. It notifies us right away. We'd love for you to like and subscribe. It'll help us with our algorithms. If you know anybody who you feel like, would benefit from our show, please feel free to share it with them or tell your friends, whatever that looks like. I have a really interesting quote I got from a TED Talk today,
Hmm.
and it was actually about all the negativity in the world. Gentleman's name was Spencer Cox, and he said, "We need more architects in the world and less arsonists."
Hmm. Put that on our, you got to put that on our page. I love that.
I will. I know, right? Deep, and it's a thinker.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a movie guy, right? So
I heard that.
yeah, so I tell I've told most people that follow us for the last year, movies that grab me are inspirational movies. Pay It Forward was of course a big one. Peanut Butter Falcon, for those that haven't watched it, I've only said it 7 times. May want to watch it. I think it's free still, but
Nine
it's a
times.
story of humanity in the bright way. So I was thinking of like some of these, like there's so incredible, like this TED talk and things out there that where we're trying to champion collectively our diversity, not living in fear. And I love that. And so out there, if you need help or anything, like Michelle and I are here, message us, we'll email us, whatever, we'll do what we can. We're not promising the moon, but if you wrestle with this thing of just like from 1 to 10 with hate or fear and
Yeah,
that,
reach out.
Michelle and I got good tools to help you.
Yeah.
Like that's what we do. And yeah, we love you guys. We appreciate your time. I love my sister. She is we don't agree with everything because I'm special and she tells me. But you know what? We do this out of our love and wanting the best for everybody,
And
right?
spending time together. Spending time together. That's right. That's right. So don't forget how amazing you are. Anything's possible when you put your mind to it. And we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, right, Tom? Wear your
Yeah.
carrot shirt again. It looks good.
My
Uh,
what?
Alan said you looked very distinguished today. Fancy.
You
Fancy.
are my favorite person right now. Just let you
See?
know, Michelle. I don't hate Michelle, but I like you better.
Hey, that's you
I'm
win, Alan.
teasing. No.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Have
Bye,
the best
everybody.
week. Take
Yeah,
care.
see, that's fun.
That was fun. I like
That
that.
was, I thought it was a